I'm Amy Nicholson, the film critic for the LA Times.
And I'm Paul Scheer, an actor, writer, and director. You might know me from The League, Veep, or my non-eligible for Academy Award role in Twisters.
We come together to host Unspooled, a podcast where we talk about good movies, critical hits,
fan favorites, must-sees, and in case you missed them.
We're talking Parasite to Home Alone.
From Grease to The Dark Knight.
So if you love movies like we do, come along on our cinematic adventure.
Listen to Unspooled wherever you get your podcasts.
And don't forget to hit the follow button.
DC High Volume, Batman. The Dark Knight's definitive DC Comics stories. Adapted directly for audio for the very first time.
Fear. I have to make them afraid.
He's got a motorcycle. Get after him or I'll have you shot.
You mean blow up the building?
From this moment on, none of you are safe.
New episodes every Wednesday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Have you heard of Olivia, the travel company for lesbians and LGBTQ plus women? You know what they say, life is short and the world is wide. And when you're a lesbian or LGBTQ plus woman, you want to be able to go on vacation, have some fun, feel safe, and be yourself. Olivia Travel creates full takeovers of their cruise, resort, riverboat, and adventure vacations so you can kiss who you want to kiss without a care in the world in your own safe space. Olivia also provides the entertainment, bringing comedians and musicians from within your community. Traveling by yourself? No problem. Olivia has a robust solos program so you can travel alone, together. Single, coupled up, or in a group, you'll meet amazing LGBTQ plus women who come from all walks of life, yet have so much in common. Join the thousands of Olivians who travel to bucket list destinations all over the world. It's life-changing to be in the majority on your own vacation. Discover Olivia for yourself at olivia.com today.
Lez Hang Out. Lez Hang Out. And let's talk about what Lez is about. And let's listen to two lesbians shout. Lez Hang Out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Lez Hang Out, the podcast that's leaving on a midnight train to Georgia.
Leaving on a midnight train.
Thank you, Ellie.
I got
From
you.
the West Coast, I'm Leigh Holmes Foster.
From the East Coast, I'm Ellie Brigida. To those of you who've been with us through this whole journey, thank you as always for listening. If you're a new listener, welcome. We're excited to have you here. Here's what's happening this week.
This week in the Lesdom.
This week in the Lesdom is a place where we can touch base each episode about things going on with the podcast. We are continuing to release our Patreon bonus episodes this season. Our next one will be on Bros. You can listen at bit.ly/LezPatreon. We are also running a big Patreon campaign right now. We have been running the show for 8 years. It is getting more and more expensive to run because inflation and life. And so we need more patrons to help support the show. So if you can support us, even at the minimum of $5 a month, it makes a huge difference to us and our tiny team. So if you want to join our Patreon, you can do that at bit.ly/LezPatreon. We're also going to have perks at different levels. At 100 patrons, you all get to pick a Should Have Been Gay episode, and we are so close. We only need 6 more Patreon supporters to hit that first level of support, so you could be one of those 6. At 150, we're going to throw a live Patreon-only show, and at 200, we're going to have a virtual house party with karaoke, all kinds of games, and queer community. Maybe you can meet your new Tumblr girlfriend. Who knows? It's going to be great.
All for the low cost of one cold brew a month, you know?
Exactly.
Amazing. Also, as a reminder, we are still planning our trip to France because we are optimists, okay? And maybe we'll all just be fleeing the country at that point. Who knows? Either way.
Yeah, don't say that too loud.
Either way, March 25th to 31st, 2026, we will be in Paris and Bordeaux with a bunch of gays having a great time one way or another. And you can sign up at bit.ly/LesDoFrance before all those spots fill up.
And as a reminder, our 5 early bird spots have already been taken up, but we would love to see more of you on the trip. So keep those signups coming. In the greater Les universe, happy belated Lesbian Visibility Day from your favorite lesbians.
We hope you all had a wonderful day being seen and then now have retreated happily to the shadows once more to be
invisible.
Until next year when they'll see us again.
Amazing. Also, in Western Mass, which is very close to me, a new lesbian bar has opened, Last Ditch.
Get out there, Ellie.
Very exciting. Honestly, Massachusetts is doing the Lord's work when it comes to lesbian bars. We have one in Worcester, we have one in Boston, and we have one in Western Mass now. So any spot you are in Massachusetts, you are probably at least minimum an hour away from a lesbian bar, probably 45 minutes.
It's not a huge state,
No.
you know? You're doing great.
We're hitting it.
Per capita, that's many lesbian bars.
So many bars.
In the Greater Liz universe, some of you may have seen Julian Baker coming out of whatever latest project to work on a new project, this time teaming up with Torres for a queer country album, which, you know, look, sign us up. We're here for it.
The Wedding Banquet is out in theaters, starring Bowen Yang, Lily Gladstone, Kelly Marie Tran, lots of out queer actors. Also a remake of an older film that has always gotten great reviews. And I feel like it's also like it's like a lavender marriage kind of green card thing, which I feel like very, very timely.
Relevant.
and has been getting some really good reviews, which I'm not surprised about. So if you want to see a new gay movie, The Wedding Banquet is out in theaters right now.
And Lily Gladstone just came out as demisexual, as another new identity to add to the list. So great.
Love it. That's what's happening this week. Back to you, Ellie and Leigh.
Thanks, Ellie and Leigh. We are so excited to bring you episode 18 of season 8. Ellie, I'm going to need you to go on a journey with me for this episode title. It's called Go Off, Steam. Get
Perfect.
it? Get it?
I get it.
Well, I will snappy. How loud can I snappy into my microphone?
I know you're doing some really...
Go off, Steam.
Yes, okay. You're doing some really
You're
good
welcome.
railroad pun work here, yes.
We are joined by a very special guest today. We have Devon Matthews, who's the head of programs for Rainbow Railroad, a global nonprofit organization that helps LGBTQ plus people get to safety worldwide.
Welcome, Devon. Thank you for coming.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We are very excited to have you here today. I know we talked a little bit about your work before we hopped on, but will you let the listeners know, what is Rainbow Railroad? What do you do?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that was a pretty great intro, and I appreciate the steam pun there.
So it's not a literal railroad though, right?
It is not a literal
trains.
railroad. No trains, but our name is an homage to the Underground Railroad. So there's like train content, I guess, if you will. And we're an international organization headquartered in Canada and the United States that works with LGBTQI people who are facing persecution in countries around the world. That's state-sponsored persecution, I should say, or community level violence, or really extreme circumstances. And the homage part is really just that we are by and for the queer community and are attempting to try to find ways and passages for people who are in the most extreme situations to get out and seek something different. We never claim that it is quote unquote safe, especially in the world we're living in today. I don't think that queer people are particularly safe wherever they are, but that there's a safer places or safer plans for folks that need it. So yeah, we do all sorts of different things to support people, different mechanisms, different pathways to provide people with access to safety is what I like to call it. That can be in country or through international movement, through a bunch of different mechanisms.
And we were talking to, like, you've been at the organization for quite a while. So what have you seen as like the changes in it since you started?
Been with the organization for a little over 7 years now. And when we started, it was really like, we're still super scrappy, but we were really scrappy at that time. We were, 5 people at like some rented hot desks in a co-working space, trying to do whatever we could with very little resources, working case by case in an Excel spreadsheet to support people who were emailing us and needed help. We had one kind of core program and then a volunteer network in Canada, and we were just doing whatever we could. And, from that activist route, we built year over year to bring in more donations, more visibility, more pathways, more access. We worked tirelessly to gain credibility with governments that are in what are either now or used to be LGBTQI plus rights supporting countries, so that we could support the movement of individuals from less safe countries. And built to where we are today. We're around 60 staff, 2 different offices in 2 different countries, and a much larger budget and capacity with about 8 different offerings of like how we support people through different program streams. So it's been a journey. And the sad part that I was saying to you before, Ellie, was that it is a joy to have watched this work grow and really make what I believe is queer history and like make a mark in a world that has a lot of darkness against queer people. But the more visibility we get and the more support we get, it's this like crack that opens to the reality of how much need there is. People hear about us, or we become more visible in countries that hadn't previously come to us for support. Seeing the volume of requests skyrocket year over year is kind of the saddest part about growing, because when we started, there were just so fewer people who knew about us, and we didn't even understand the scale of what people needed.
Yeah.
But now you're saying countries that like are or used to be friendly places. Like I don't. Why have things changed recently?
Yeah, I don't understand. Well, I mean, we were also talking about this, Leigh, before you hopped on, like where it is just like the increase. There's been a significant increase in like U.S. based requests, right? Like particularly, we could talk about a little bit more. You can talk more about it, Devon, I'm sure. But like, I know Leigh and I literally just had an episode with Eric Marcus for Making Gay History. Like we were both making our escape plans. So I'm like, and we are like safe. We are safer than most. But yeah, it's a
Ellie has one conversation about like the fact that people are leaving the country, and she's like, maybe I should go somewhere.
I was like, I have to leave immediately. I must find dual citizenship somewhere. Yeah. Devon is not available for marriage, just in case anyone was wondering. I know, it's really unfortunate.
What good are you, Devon? We're getting a new guest.
I've been asked.
Mm-hmm. Devon's already taken, everyone. But I'm sure, I mean, there's lots of gays in Canada. Maybe this is, you know what?
Yeah.
This is the point of this particular episode. We're going to do a gay matchmaking US Canadian
speed dating on the
green card marriages. Have you thought of this? Have you thought of this as a Rainbow Railroad offshoot reality TV show? 90 Day Fiance Rainbow Railroad.
A 90 Day Fiance X Rainbow Railroad would be interesting. I will say that we should wait until we see how our kind of political circumstances turn out. And also, you know, like there's no, I'm not sure that there's an easy market for this, but I mean, we could consider it for sure.
I'm just, as you expand, do you expand into scripted reality TV? Like, I'm just not sure where it goes.
It's where every nonprofit goes eventually, right? Into dating shows.
Exactly.
When are your elections? Because they're coming up, right?
I mean, it's a much less dramatic, much less flashy process. But yeah, we attempt to work across all parties in Canada and have had success with that. Actually, we worked with the Conservatives, we've worked with the Liberals, we've had varying degrees of success in those different arenas, but things are like, it's a tense election. It's a tense political moment, especially given the dynamic between the United States and Canada. Dynamic is such like a diplomatic word. The like reality of like the way that, I mean, we have staff in the States. It's going to be tenuous.
The dynamic of we are now being run by a crazy person who keeps threatening to just take your country. Is that it? Is there like a nice turn of phrase that captures that we haven't stumbled into yet?
I mean, it's more just like getting bullied all the time. Like Canada's just getting bullied.
I think everyone globally right now is getting a little bullied. Reality dating shows aside, because I assume that the matchmaking here's an eligible bachelor style thing is not the typical services that Rainbow Railroad provides. What is like a more common process for people that you help, or for people who are, kind of looking for new places to land?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just before I dig into that, I can say though that the request, like all jokes aside, the matchmaking service, like the volume of requests for help that we've received from within the United States is truly staggering. Like we have received requests for help from the United States over the years, but the day of the election of Trump, we saw the most requests for help of any country of anywhere in the world in our history in a single 24-hour period. So that surpassed when Afghanistan fell back to the Taliban. That surpassed every other major historic moment where we saw a spike. And the saddest part is that a lot of those individuals are people who already had come to the United States from other countries and had sought safety in the United States and weren't actually American citizens, but were folks looking for refuge in the US. So yeah, it's like a pretty bleak situation right now, especially because what we're seeing is such an intense violation of human rights. And yet the global system of like protection of forced migration is not one that has adapted to the backsliding in rights in the United States. And it's tricky. Like an article just came out yesterday, I believe, about trans folks trying to claim asylum at the Canadian border, American trans folks. And that's the environment in which we're trying to navigate what's next for us. So it's very real. It's very, very real. I think, in terms of programmatic offerings, we really attempt to like kind of center the person who's asking us for support and try to figure out like exactly where we can provide help. So depending on their circumstances, their visa eligibility, their race, their social location, their identity, their circumstances, we tailor a particular program to kind of fit their unique needs. And so, like as an example, we have folks that come to us who are in incarceration and who like literally cannot leave until a certain date. Or we have youth that come to us who are under the kind of surveillance and abuse of their parents. And that looks very different from like a Saudi woman who can't cross a border without being accompanied by a male counterpart, or from someone who's in a refugee camp, or from someone who is coming back to Jamaica after living in the United States for a year and is coming back to having been outed in the media and is needing to flee again. Like these are all radically different stories and they're all real and we deal with them every day. And so we try to really work with like the circumstances of where individuals are at and tailor our programming to support that within whatever we can. And then also we provide support to a lot of grassroots organizations who work on the ground. We support partner organizations in so many different countries that are actually doing the like day in, day out support work of like making sure people have access to HIV medication, or making sure people have access to safe houses where they can go underground and hide, ensuring that people have the right kind of information that they need in order to go and approach organizations like the UNHCR. We couldn't do what we do unless we also had those kind of tentacles on the ground to help us in connecting people with resources where they're at.
Just listening to that, I'm like, damn, that's like so many things to be thinking about. It's very impressive. That's so many things to hold space for.
Yeah, whenever we're hiring, we just had an interview today with like someone who was applying for a caseworker job, and it's like partway through the interview, I just wanted to be like, I actually don't need you to answer any of these questions. I just want to give you like a Rubik's Cube and put a blindfold on you and then put you in a room and like turn all the lights off and then just like spin you around a couple of times and then scream at you for like an hour and then like see what happens. And like, what happens in that situation?
Listen, joke's on you. I have children and know how to solve a Rubik's Cube. So
Leigh, you're the perfect caseworker.
I'm made for this. I'm trained.
Quit your job. I feel like it's ultimate stress test. We were talking earlier too, and I'm like wondering if we could actually dive more into this and what you mean by this. You said this and if you don't want to talk about this on air, it's fine. But you were saying like you figure out like how to use your trauma for good, right? Like, how do you feel like, particularly, I'm sure like a lot of people who work at your organization are queer, correct?
Yeah, the vast majority of us.
So how do you feel like trauma informed and queers working together creates a different kind of like environment to fight for all of these things? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a really interesting environment because, well, first of all, a number, like we're rooted in Canada and the United States, two major Western global economies, superpowers, whatever you want to call them, like, I mean, less Canada, but certainly in the United States. And yet our staff is very reflective in many ways of the work that we do. So a lot of our staff come from personal experiences of forced displacement. And those that don't come from personal experiences of forced displacement come from a lot of circumstances of kind of like more domestic forms of violence, abuse, family dynamics that are really strenuous. And there's so many cross-cultural situations, interracial situations, different identity situations. It's really a complex environment in order to create collective solidarity, harmony, kind of like trajectory. But it's also, it can be one of the most incredible places to navigate as in your work, because you're also working alongside so many people who fill in all of the gaps that you might have or your colleagues might have in terms of their knowledge, skill set, language capacity, what have you. I think that trauma is a huge part of like the trauma that people live with in this work, whether it be from their own lives or from the work itself, is a really day in, day out part of what we do. And yet we have to constantly background that to the reality of what people that we were talking to are living through and working through, and ensuring that we are providing trauma-informed care, even if we're coming from a trauma experiencing place. And so that's a very complicated dynamic, and it really doesn't work for some people. We attract a lot of activists, a lot of folks that are like wanting to fight the system because we are inherently subversive and try to do something that a lot of organizations can't or won't do, fill a gap in the space that doesn't really exist. But it's a very tricky dance to actually do it on a day in and day out, and certainly not for everybody. It's a challenge.
Yeah, I feel like it's like, we've talked about this before, just with queer people, of like the lived experience of being queer, being a superpower in whatever way that is. So I think some people talk about, didn't we have an episode, Leigh, about like that woman, I forget, where she was talking about it, like the love of trauma. Do you remember that?
Say
it was
more.
so long ago. But she was basically talking about how people tend to like take the trauma and like throw it in a box and be like, that's not a part of me. This like embracing of the trauma, embracing it as a part of who you are and a part of like what you've been through, and like loving that part of yourself because it makes you have this superpower to do what you can do, to help other people, be more empathetic. Like there's a million things about those things that obviously you'd prefer to not have had to go through it, and also acknowledge that it can help you be the kind of person who can also help others.
I think it's interesting too, because when someone comes to us and requests help, they kind of go through an intake process. And at first it's kind of robotic, like they're filling out a form and then they're getting an email, and it is a little bit impersonal at the very, very beginning, because we have to just triage into different buckets before we can start talking to people. But once we start talking to people, the caseworkers that are at the front lines of that process are typically the first people that individuals have ever spoken to that are openly and outwardly queer, and that don't know them already, and that are non-judgmentally there to support them. Like the concept of the globalized community, like the globalization of queerness, or like whatever you want to call it, the international kind of like queer solidarity space is fascinating, because your trauma as a queer person, whether that's really minor, like lowercase t trauma, or like, which most queer, if not all queer people live with, or like uppercase T trauma, or your personal lived experience with forced displacement or whatever, like it is a superpower in a way, because we are able to ground ourselves in our own experience and reach across this void to a person who is really often very lonely, very isolated, scared of their own identity and the way that they exist in the world. And we're able to be like, hey, I'm here, and like, you don't have to worry about a single thing that you tell me, and we can just talk and we can figure this out together, and like, we're gonna get there. And like, you are the architect of your own story. Like, you are the like person who will ultimately find your own way, and like, we're just here to kind of like walk with you while you do that. And I think that is like, that's why this like homage to the Underground Railroad thing is really a part of it. It is solidarity. And it's like, I think like most grounded form.
Well, and I think what's funny, Ellie, is that I think you're right in terms of that the conversation you're remembering, but I'm also thinking about the conversation you and I had in an episode recently talking about like what are the most gay things or least gay things about each of us, and how all of our like most gay things were sort of like, this typical queer trauma, you know? But yeah, I think at its best, queer trauma is used to support other queers who maybe either are going through that trauma, similar trauma, worse trauma, and yeah, maybe just need somebody with either the lived experience of being able to say like, hey, I've been where you are and like it's gonna be okay, or even just to be like, hey, we have in common queer trauma, and that's okay too, you know? Like there is something to be said for that on the list of things that you know, I think you and I consider on the superpower things about being gay in a general sense. Yeah.
Yeah, also just being excessively talented, but like that's just, you know.
Yeah, just being better and hotter than other people also.
It's like all of those things, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I was also going to say that a classic queer thing is queer audacity. And I think that Rainbow Railroad is like a case study in queer audacity, because a group of like activist folks came together and were, you know, we in 2006, and we're like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to like ethically and legally move people across borders with no kind of like process or money to fund it or a system in place. And we're not just going to do that, but we're going to do it big. Like we're going to convince governments that this is something they should like, the irregular movement of queer people across borders. And like it took a really long time, but we like the harnessing of queer audacity is a part of our daily lives. We're just like, you know what, we can do that and we will do it. And then we do it. And then we all look around and go, holy shit, we just did that. Like a lot of the time there's shock and awe at the fact that we just like committed hard enough to the bit.
Was there a moment like that first time where you were just like, no, like surely they're not actually going to let us do this, right?
I mean, I think that like I'm a bit of a political pessimist. I believe that government only really do things for very particular reasons and for very strategic reasons in a lot of ways. It depends which government you're talking about, but often there's reasons. I can't remember a first instance, but there's been so many. There's been so many where we've pitched something or we've done something or we've pulled something off and then just said, oh my God, I can't believe we did that. I received one of the cases that will always live with me was a request that we got through a partner organization who was working with a youth who, I don't know if you guys do trigger warnings. I am terrible at giving trigger warnings because my whole work environment is a trigger warning, but trigger warning. Yeah, like I got a request from a partner organization who was working with a youth who had been handcuffed to a water pipe in the basement of their parents' home and who desperately needed to get out of that environment for very obvious reasons and had been discovered to be queer and very much believed that he would not make it past his 16th birthday if he was not out of there immediately. And I got this email and was like, what am I supposed to do about this youth in a very, very, very conservative, extremely dangerous, criminalized context country that I won't name for protection reasons, but like, what am I even supposed to do about this? Like, I don't know how we're going to. And myself and a few of my team members and probably a network of, I want to say 12 different activists at multiple other organizations, all queer people, came together and we're like, we're getting this kid out of this basement and he is getting out and he's going to stay somewhere until he is old enough to cross a border. And then he's going to cross a border. And then we're going to make sure he has support when he's there. And then he's going to go into the refugee system and then he's going to travel. And like, it was this wild, wild West process that required a degree of queer audacity that was just completely out of frame. And, you know, he made it and is out and living in Europe and has a whole life ahead of him. And that is the work of him principally. The things he did on his own were wild, but it's the work of a group of people who just believe hard enough that it's worth it and that they can do it.
And your gay audacity did that.
That is wild.
Your gay audacity and trauma all made that happen. That's incredible.
Well, I do feel like it's just wild. Like, I just feel like we all have our places in this ecosystem, but it is just like so incredible to me to think about the people who can like see those things happening, get the request, and like act. Not like, for me, I feel like I would honestly like, you don't need to give me a job. It's okay. Like, I would just freeze. Like, I feel like I would be like, this is so overwhelming to me. I can't. So to think that there are all these people out there who like see that, mobilize, figure out solutions is incredible.
The reality is that like, as much as I really am like pretty pessimistic about the state of the world, I like, especially like there's 120 million forcibly displaced people right now. Like, it is an acute, like it is terrible. It is really, really, really bad. And I'm sure your listeners all are like because they're probably all queer, keeping up to date about how terrible the world is for queer people right now. Like, it is not a good environment. And yet it is not just queer people doing this work. Like, there are so many amazing activists and organizations that are coming together and work with Rainbow Railroad to do whatever we can for folks. And I think that like that's where like the partnership component of what we do is so key. Like, you know, there's feminist organizations that are majority older women who you'd think are a bit of an older guard of feminism, who are working in sub-Saharan Africa, who are like, let's also support the queer women who come to us and figure out what they need. There are like organizations all over the place that are doing wild work to like cover up medical care for queer people that they're doing under the guise of, you know, major government funding healthcare programs in countries where healthcare for queer people is illegal. It's wild. Like the networks of people who are subverting the system to support is like the most optimistic part of this. And there's a real world of that out there.
I love that. I want to talk more about that. Can we take a quick break, 1 minute, hear from some sponsors, and then I want to dive into that some more.
Have you heard of Olivia, the travel company for lesbians and LGBTQ plus women? You know what they say, life is short and the world is wide. And when you're a lesbian or LGBTQ plus woman, you want to be able to go on vacation, have some fun, feel safe, and be yourself. Olivia Travel creates full takeovers of their cruise, resort, riverboat, and adventure vacations so you can kiss who you want to kiss without a care in the world in your own safe space. Olivia also provides the entertainment, bringing comedians and musicians from within your community. Traveling by yourself? No problem. Olivia has a robust solos program so you can travel alone, together. Single, coupled up, or in a group, you'll meet amazing LGBTQ plus women who come from all walks of life, yet have so much in common. Join the thousands of Olivians who travel to bucket list destinations all over the world. It's life-changing to be in the majority on your own vacation. Discover Olivia for yourself at olivia.com today.
Lez Hang Out.
I really love what you're saying about the optimism, because like I said, I do feel like, at least for me, and I know some of my friends, there's this overwhelm of like you said, there's so much bad shit happening. So like how like it feels heavy, it feels like, okay, what can we do? But to know that like there are people, like I feel like what I've talked about with my friends is like each of us can do what we can do and trust there are other people also doing what they can do. Like, you have to at least have some sort of hope that we can all do something collectively, or like the people who are doing horrible things are winning. And so I don't know like what the point of this that I'm saying here is, like, but I guess the thing is like, what can people do in their like day to day, week to week, feel as though they're making a positive contribution to these things in the world that are scary and feels like it's all against us.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting because if we de-center ourselves a bit from the Western kind of queer movement, we can see that, or even just like backwardsly historicize our Western queerness. It's like power of queer people to fight under unthinkable circumstances, and for allies to emerge either publicly or underground to support queer people in a fight for human rights has existed like time immemorial. Like, this is a long history of us doing this. And I think that I interviewed a queer human rights defender, a trans woman, for a project I was working on at the end of last year. And she said like this really poignant thing where she was just like, you people, she was like, you queer people in the West need to get out of your own way. Like, you need to wake up and realize that no one is coming to save you, and that like no one is going to convince you that everything's fine, and that like the fight is now. It will happen whether you let the boulder roll over you or not. You need to wake up and believe that it's possible, because if there are people in the world who are facing unthinkable circumstances, like unthinkable physical harm, psychological harm, unending poverty, horrific criminalization, and they still wake up every morning and go, you know what, I got this. I'm going to fight harder than I've ever fought, harder than I fought yesterday. Then like, what are we doing? Because I think like self-care, yes, boundaries, yes, but I don't think it's good enough to just go, well, everyone's out to get us and we're just going to let that happen. Because if we let that happen, it will happen. So I feel like optimism, it doesn't even have to be grounded in an optimism. It has to be grounded in like anger, fierceness, like no, you won'tness, and audacity. Like, I think that is what the only thing that will save us is ourselves.
I think what I love about that so much
Just slow clap.
is standing ovation. I think what I love about that so much is that it's the much lesser known counterpart to the "it gets better" movement, is the inspirational "it gets worse" messaging that like you really need to have both sometimes, you know?
No, it's so valid. I also am just like, I'm just loving the like, get out of your own ass. Like, I know you said get out of your own way. I will say get out of your own ass because I love it. It is like, yes, things are really shitty in the US. And like, also like you have all these resources to fight back. Like, we do have all the resources that we need to fight back. So like, get up and fight. I think that's a great message.
Yeah, I mean, we've been running a campaign for a bit now that we are continuing to run because it has so many applications to everything and is like really kind of this, which is, it's called the Time Is Always Now campaign. The time is always now comes from that famous James Baldwin quote that goes, "There's never a time in the future in which we will work out our salvation. The challenge is in the moment. The time is always now." And I think it is all encompassing. Like, we've been here before. The project of queer liberation is not like this. Sorry, I'm on a podcast. Yeah. It is not upward and linear. It is a constant moving squiggly line of progress and backsliding. Like, if we convince ourselves that we make progress and then it is unravelable, we will get got. Mm-hmm. Put in simple terms. Like, it is. We've seen that with Roe v. Wade. We've seen that, like, you know, there's questions about all sorts of different rights that we've won and now we have to fight back. So we just have to, like, we have to believe that the time is now and that it honestly is always, like, it's always the time. Yeah,
it's definitely not the time right now, right? Yes. I mean, because it is the other thing that I think is hard sometimes, because there's something that, because like Ellie and I talk about this a lot on the podcast too, is like there's always this interesting thing. I feel like I'm joking about the like it gets better, it gets worse thing, but it is also so true, especially I think for like queer people in the US, you know, who do sort of exist on this like wildly oscillating landscape of things where it's like, we're not in a country where you're just like, hey, don't be gay, you'll die, right? Like, it's not that here. And realistically, for most of us who are listening to a podcast, like, it's not been that for us. But there is this sort of thing where you're like, we're on the upswing, and then you're like, it's getting bad again. And it's like, no, things are getting a little bad. No, it's gotten worse, you know? And it's like, it is hard sometimes to know where to contextualize where we're at and what to do with that. And like, what is the thing to do, you know? And I think like we feel that, especially because we know we do have a lot of like younger listeners who are probably experiencing like one of the wildest downswings of their life for the first time. And that's scary. And like, I don't think everyone knows what to do with that, or what is like, what are you supposed to do with that and how do you place it in the context of like, okay, but also it could be worse, but it could get worse, and like, how do you handle all of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the vast majority of the people that we work with are probably similar in age to your listener folk. It's like majority 19 to 25. That's like the most requests for help that we get. And I think that, there's so much to be said for, I think that as life goes on, our agency becomes less. Like we have less agency as we move forward in our lives, right? Like we have like very little when we're teenagers, and then we have like a lot for a bit, and then it kind of decreases over time as we have health issues, or we get older, or we are struggling under like the constant opposing thumb of capitalism, like whatever it is, like it is, there's this sweet spot where you actually have a lot of potential and a lot of choice and a lot of like access, no matter where you are. Like, I mean, there's different arenas of that access, but I think that if you really look at your social networks, your capacity to connect people, your optimism, your like, what are you good at in your activism? Not everybody has to be in the streets. Some people can be writing their elected official. Some people can be, getting their rich uncle to donate money to Rainbow Railroad. Whatever it is, there is an outlet for your agency and for your optimism and for your work and your effort. I think that it just takes like really looking at yourself and like understanding where your gift is or where your access is, and then like harnessing that and doing it. And it sounds kind of like nebulous or like hypothetical when I say it, but it's because like these questions get asked of people who work for nonprofits all the time. What can people do to help? And it's like, it's kind of a performative answer unless you really say like, look at your world, look at your networks, look at your circumstances, look at your experience, look at your knowledge, and then take that and use it. Like, look, like you're the only one that can assess what that is. Like we have people come to us and are like, I speak Russian, and all I want to do is help you translate interviews that you do with your Russian clients. And we're like, great, let's do that. We have people that come to us and go, I want to form a group of people in Chicago who can support asylees who are landing in the United States and not feeling alone for the first 3 months that they're in the United States. And we go, great, let's do that. And we have people who come to us and go, I own a building in Uganda and I want to provide it as a location for people to hide out in while they're waiting for you to move them. Great, let's do, like it's like find your access, and then it's not just about even Rainbow Railroad. Like obviously we need your support, but it's like, it doesn't matter. Find the thing that lights you up and then fight. Like go to any organization that you are connected to and do that work.
I love that. What a great answer. I am feeling very personally inspired. So this is great. This is really
Ellie's like, last week I was going to flee the country. Today I'm like, who can I house that's coming to the US?
No, literally I'll send you an email later. I'm like sitting in my mother's house. She loves to host. I'm like, interesting. Quote, like wheels are spinning. We have an extra bedroom. The wheels are spinning.
The other thing too is like, I mean, we're coming up on like Pride season, and I think that a lot of younger queer people don't have money themselves, but I think, the amount of like harassing of my and my partner's families and of people that I know that I do every Pride season, you can take my line. My line is, if you do not donate, you're homophobic. And then the eye emoji that's like looking kind of judgmentally sideways. So guilt your family and friends into donating to Rainbow Railroad because we need the money. And I think that you can really play the gay card in June.
Also, something that I know just from knowing some of the organizations, like at least in the Bay Area that I know of in terms of like what they look for sometimes. Like if you are a person who's like, I have a spare room or a spare house or whatever, like that's great. But I know that sometimes they're also just looking for people who are like, hey, someone's going to need to learn how to navigate the local, like, bus train system. Someone's going to have to teach them how to like open a bank account. Like when you actually have refugees like coming to a brand new country who like don't know how to navigate just like the generalities of life, that is something where like, hey, young queers, what you do know is how to like exist in a modern digital age in the area that you live in.
100%. We had a program. Well, we were a part of a very big program called Welcome Corps in the United States that existed under the Biden administration and was with the quickest of forces wiped away under the Trump administration. But that program leveraged what we call a communities of care model that was really like, let's get a group of people together and do exactly what you were saying. Like, let's get people together to help orient folks to just like how to be in their new space and how to like where to meet queer people and like to have friends and a little bit of like a social safety net, because we don't realize how critical social safety nets are unless you don't have one. And then you realize that if you're having a terrible mental health day and you cannot get up to go get some food to feed yourself and you have no friends and no family and no partner and you're alone, then you're not eating. And so it's like just having someone to text or call and be like, hey, I'm having a really hard time is life-saving. And pivoted significantly. That program that under a formal government system was ended, but we are still doing a version of that program in many, many locations and in the United States and hopefully soon in Canada. Like that's an opportunity for people to volunteer and to get involved and like really just use their time and energy and like kind of connections and kindness to really support people. So that's definitely an option as well.
And the important messaging there is call Ellie's mom. She'll make you dinner.
Honestly, she freaking I'm about to go out. I'm about to talk to her. She loves to drive people around. Like if they listen, she'll be happy to do it. I'm just loving this. This new. I'm like, she's been lonely. This is her new.
We're volunteering Ellie's mom to help every gay person.
She honestly would. Amazing. Anything else you want to tell our listeners about Rainbow Railroad before we head into our Q&A?
I mean, so many things. I could talk about Rainbow Railroad forever, but I think the biggest thing is just that, yeah, like I think I said at the top that, you know, in the last number of years, we've seen such a huge increase in requests for help. You know, an 80% increase since 2021 in the number of requests for help that we are receiving. And the list of countries that we are supporting people in just like continues to grow. And so I think that like there is a real space to have people kind of connect with so many different like locations, countries, knowledge spaces. Like that people should really just continue to educate themselves and keep up to date with the work that we're doing and the work that other organizations are doing, because the volume of need and the situations people are living through are really, really dire. So beyond helping, also just like self-educating is more important than ever, because, you know, that old corny knowledge is power thing is really true. Like the rollback and rights, keep being aware of what's going on. Like, let's not throw our heads under the covers and kind of ignore it. It's really key.
All right, here we go. We're going to head into our Q&A.
Q and gay.
Number 1, pick a train. A, monorail. B, tram. C, locomotive. Or D, high-speed rail.
High-speed rail.
I mean, listen.
Tone shift.
How I just had to give the people what they want. We'll put these up. We put them up on our Instagram so our listeners can answer too. And you just gotta go with a theme.
I love a rapid fire question.
And also, who doesn't love a high-speed rail?
I mean, I just watched that episode of Love on the Spectrum where the person is obsessed with the subway system or the train system. She would hate it if I didn't know the name of it because she's obsessed with it. But I feel like trains are awesome. Trains are underrated.
Trains are underrated and underrepresented in the U.S. for sure. Okay, question 2. Where are you trying to flee to? Out of A, Canada, B, Norway, C, Spain, or D, Taiwan?
Where am I trying to flee out of?
No, 2.
Oh, 2.
all these queers currently trying to flee our countries. Where are we going? I just want to know where the party's going to be at, okay?
Where is the party going to be at? Wait, can you say the options again?
Yeah, Canada, Norway, Spain, or Taiwan.
I think that the party's going to be in Canada or Spain.
Okay, good. It's just good to know. That way we can all, hook up when we get there.
Spain has a digital nomad visa that is very appealing. Yes.
As Ellie's learned in the last week and a half.
I know these things. All right, question number 3. How do you harness your queer trauma for good? A, humor, B, music, or C, nonprofit work?
A and C. Dark sense of humor and nonprofit work.
I think they
Can't go
have to
wrong.
go hand in hand, you know?
My musical abilities are 0.
Okay, question 4. What do you have more of? Out of A, gay trauma, B, gay audacity, C, gay style, or D, gay panic?
Definitely audacity.
Ellie's like, meanwhile, panicking and freezing the second someone asks me.
Yes, gay panic.
There you go.
That's okay. And style. Question number 5. Here we go. Where do your strengths to help lie? A, protesting. B, contacting officials. C, donating your time or money. Or D, translation.
I think for me, it's probably donating time, but it's not really a donation because I am employed. So maybe protesting.
It still counts.
It's maybe, between protesting and donating time.
There you go. I'm excited to see what people say because then we're going to hold you to it. It's actually a legally binding contract.
This is actually your volunteer contract.
Yeah.
You are choosing where you are volunteering.
Yep, we'll be contacting you shortly. Don't worry.
Amazing. Devon, thank you so much for spending your time with us tonight and sharing about Rainbow Railroad. Where can everyone find you, Rainbow Railroad, on social media or online?
Yeah, www.rainbowrailroad.org. If you are listening and you need help, it's www.rainbowrailroad.org/get help. And it has an escape button that you can hit if you're using that website in a public place. And our Instagram handle is @rainbowrailroad. We just deleted our Twitter. And I think that's it.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Hopefully this helps spread the word and gets more people feeling inspired and active.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. It was great chatting with you too.
We love hearing from you and building community, so we want to shout out some of our favorite things each episode. Our conclave episode just is the gift that keeps on giving. We had a YouTube comment that said, OMFG, these dudes are insufferable, from RevFunk8823. And the funniest thing about this is I don't know if they're talking about the Cardinals in conclave or if they're calling us dudes.
Or the 3 lesbians discussing it. It's really unclear.
It's so unclear. And either way, thank you.
Honestly, honored.
What an honor.
Incredible. We also want to shout out a comment that we got also about our conclave episode and how the SNL skit would rule, but they wouldn't be able to pull it off. And listen, I just want to say you just have to believe. So that is to @law director.
Yeah.
You
right.
gotta believe, okay? Believe in your dreams. We believe in our dreams.
I want to be a fly on the wall in this conclave right now.
I do.
I really do. Except I don't, because I don't really want to watch these Cardinals fuck each other, but like, I just want to hear the gossip. No bedroom fly for me. That's all I'm going to say. As always, we want to thank our Lesbian Jesus patrons, Mark Foster,
Lizette Stye,
A.D. Benitez,
Sophia Phillips,
and Armani Gucci.
And our King Princess patrons, Amy and Ellen.
And Andrea Doucette. Thank you so much for all your support. We cannot continue to make the show without you.
Remember, you can also find us on all the social medias. We are on Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, and TikTok at Lez Hang Out Pod.
You can email us at lezhangoutpod@gmail.com.
You can check out our website at lezhangoutpod.com.
Whatever app you use for podcasts, make sure you subscribe to be the first to know when new episodes drop.
We also have videos going up on our YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe at youtube.com/lezhangoutpod to catch those.
Lez Hang Out is an independently produced show hosted by us with audio production by me. Our production assistant is Kristen Murison, and other podcasting shenanigans by Leigh Holmes Foster.
If you want to help support the podcast, there are so many ways that you can do that. The first one is free and easy. Leave us a rating and a review on whatever app you use to listen to podcasts. It helps new people find the show.
If you want to support us on Patreon, you can join us at bit.ly/lezpatreon. We have a big Patreon campaign going on right now. We are only 6 patrons away from 100. And once we hit 100 Patreon supporters, you are all going to get to pick what should have been gay we cover. At 150, we are going to film a Patreon-only bonus episode that you will be able to watch live with us. And at 200, we're going to host a virtual party with all of you so you can meet each other, make new gay friends, and you're all doing this while supporting the podcast that you know and love. You can do that at bit.ly/lezpatreon.
If you want to get all that good Lez Hang Out merch, we have all of our designs up on our store on our website now. You can get there at bit.ly/lezmerch. It's a great time to start stocking up for Pride, so keep an eye out. We're going to have some new designs coming out soon.
And remember, we have a queer production company making queer podcast musicals with guaranteed happy endings at $Prod.
You can check out our website at dollarbeanproductions.com.
You can listen to all the episodes of our first show, The Flame, on any podcasting app.
And if you want to help support us in making more musicals, you can join our Patreon at bit.ly/$beanpatreon.
If you want to find us online, you can find me at Ellie Brigida on Instagram and TikTok.
You can find me on Instagram, Blue Sky, and TikTok at LSH Foster.
With that, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Leigh.
And let's hang out again soon.
Let's hang out.
Hey folks, we're the hosts of Comic Sans, the podcast about comics for those who are sans knowledge. I'm Yen, a reader, writer, liver, and breather of comic books.
And I'm Nat. I used to know absolutely nothing about comics, but now...
So actually, I've got a quiz for you.
I still have a lot to learn about comics.
Thank you. On Comic Sans, I make Nat read some of my favorite works in the medium, including Saga, Daredevil, and the Flintstones.
And Yen talks about what makes that comic special. Sometimes it's a story, sometimes it's...
Paneling, gutters, page turns, colorings, lettering, semiotics, juxtaposition.
Okay, Professor, save it for the episodes.
You can listen to Comic Sans on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You can binge our first 2 seasons. That's over 20 episodes on 20 different comics.
And we just launched Season 3, new episodes every 2 weeks.